Hey folks, HeirofCarthage here. I do have you an all Druchii FFA, but before we start it, I made a poll. I want you to go vote in that poll right now. There'll be a card on the video, so click the card, go vote in the poll for which lord you think is going to win this FFA, just so it'll be fun and we can all look at the results after we've watched the battle. Enjoy. Hey, just one other quick note before the video starts. One of my viewers is headed off to do some nursing in New York. Needs a little money just to get started before this paychecks start coming in, but he's heading up to New York to try and help out with the coronavirus thing. I told him I would put this in here on the video. As you can see, I donated some here too. I know not everybody can, but if you want to and you want to help out, this is someone who's going to the front lines to help. So good luck, Scott. Hope it goes good for you, and I'll jump over to the battle now. All right, folks, you asked for it, and here we are at the Grove of Slaughter with an FFA Civil War. This time, it is going to be the Druchii, and we will visit other factions in the future, obviously, as that's if you all want to see more of these. Who knows, maybe I make one and you all are like, just don't ever do this again, it was awful. Anyway, let's get started. I'm actually playing in this battle. We recorded others today, and I didn't play in all of them because I'm, just trying to spread myself out here, and not all the content has to be about me, obviously. So let's take a look at it. We've got Harganeth here, led by Crone Hellebrand, and she is representing on her cauldron here, looking very cronish. She's actually got a somewhat thematic army, too. I like it. I say thematic. I don't really know what all her theme is. Like other Dark Elves, I'm assuming it just involves slaughtering everything. There's Witch Elves supporting her in the middle. There are Harganeth Executioners, which, Harganeth Executioners, sure. Sisters of Slaughter on the flank. And then some Shades with great swords and a Death Hag supporting her in the back. So a ground-based force for the Crone, and then Malekith is representing the Nagaron faction out here. He's got a front line of Dread Spears, a couple of Witch Elves guarding the back line, a War Hydra, a Death Hag on her cauldron, and then there are some Dark Shards supporting as well, Dark Shards with shields, I might add, so there are 3 of those. And then Malekith, of course, is up here on Seraphon. We'll get a quick look at him. And he has Doombolt, Soul Stealer, and it looks like, why can't I remember the name of it? It was the Ice there. The Chill Wind is bound to him, and then Word of Pain. Word of Pain, obviously a nice debuff. And then Malice got left out. He just got left out again. Hag Grief is apparently just not the place where anybody wants to be, so Malice gets left home. And we have ourselves Lokir Fellheart instead, and Fellheart is on his dragon. So the piratey Corsair Dark Elf Dragon Lord, and he has a second dragon, as well as a Master Druchii on a Dark Pegasus, and then a Beast Sorceress, also on a Dark Pegasus. There are some Shades with great swords, and then the Crows of Cain supporting this army. You can see the 2 Shades with great swords, as well as a couple of Dark Riders. No real infantry, so to speak, on Lokir's army. And then as for myself, with Morathi, I had a similar idea to Lokir, using Morathi's Enchanting Beauty and her Heartrender and Dark Sword. I wanted to have an air force that would be unbeatable, so I have a Master unit here, Morathi. Morathi has Pit of Shades and Soul Stealer, and then I have a Black Dragon, and my Black Dragon is about to take an Amber Spear to the face, or maybe the butt, I guess however you want to look at it. Yeah, mostly the butt. Anyway, he took a hit from the Amber Spear, but it was overcast, and so the Supreme Sorceress took some damage. The army for Morathi is 4 Dread Spears, and they are each supported by some Witch Elves and Shades with dual weapons. I have them split in case someone Vanguard deployed right behind me. I split up my army and hit it. And of course here early, everybody's a little bit hesitant to go jump into an engagement in an FFA. This is pretty typical because no one wants to be that one that everybody just gangs up on, and that is one of the challenges in FFA, and it's part of the reason why I split my army. I'm in fact thinking about keeping some of my army hidden for the entirety of the battle. Obviously the risk you run in doing that is that someone could be making, say, like a flanking maneuver. If I swing over here out behind this rock, someone could be flanking a big army through here and I get caught out. But it's a risk I was willing to take. When I looked at Crone Hellebrand's army, I pretty much figured it was mostly present. I was a little worried that there was still some hidden units over here for Lokir, and there were. There was some Dark Riders. And I came up to try and get some breath attacks on the Crone, but then quickly learned that the Shades with great swords are here, and so I had to pull back from that one. So the Crone is out looking for battle. And in response to that, I'm trying to think how I want to take that engagement. I don't really want to get in an infantry fight that early, so I'm kind of considering my options. And then meanwhile, we've got some movement over here. The Shades from Lokir are moving over, looking to try and put some shots on to Malekith, and then Malekith is kind of scouting ahead of his army to see if there's any good places for him to come in and engage. There's been a little bit of back and forth here because of the chill wind that Malekith dumped out, and then I believe he's about to hit a breath attack here on these Witch Elves who take some of it, but dodge some of it as well, so it's a little bit of both ways. But then I think Malekith gets a little bit mismicroed here, takes some shots from some Shades, and he is going to be getting hurt. And meanwhile, the Shades over here with great swords are going to come engage Malekith's troops and then fall back as they don't want to trade shots with Dark Shards with shields. Really don't blame them there. That's not something they should be interested in. Morathi is moving some troops through the woods, looking to come out behind this fight with Crone Hellebron and see what we can come up with. So Crone Hellebron, now being approached by Malekith, has to turn that direction, and she is going to go engage his forces, and we're going to end up with a fight. And Lokir is obviously probably going to look to capitalize on all of this mayhem as well. Here comes the Witch Elves. And look at this, Crone Hellebron up against Death Hag. Two cauldrons like playing bumper cars here. And then a War Hydra swinging in with Malekith. See Malekith up above supporting the fight. So this is the first big engagement of the battle. Morathi is looking for some scraps back here, so she's going to dive bomb these Shades with great swords. I am in last place. Fiendfire is in a good and bad position. Bad position because he's kind of surrounded by people, but good position in the sense that he is getting a lot of points right now. So Fiendfire is racking some up. Morathi takes a quick engagement, but it was really close to Witch Elves, and then I'm going to use her Pit of Shades here to try and put some points on the scoreboard, and it will work quite brilliantly. Meanwhile, you can see Malekith using his Doom Bolt on one of the Black Dragons to try and weaken up Lokir's troops. The Dark Shards didn't have anything left to protect them, and they're going to be run down by Lokir's Dark Riders, and the Druchii Civil War is well and truly underway. Crone Hellebron is dishing out some pretty serious damage in this fight against Malekith's infantry. Sisters of Slaughter, Witch Elves, I mean, they're going to be hitting hard, though that War Hydra is wanting to get a piece of the Crone there. Meanwhile, I'm just kind of picking off scraps as best I can. I did get some infantry support up, and I'm going to hide part of my infantry to hopefully in later game. Malekith could not get away from Lokir, and so isn't he kind of like the King of Nagaron? He's going to be the first one to get knocked out of the fight. So Malekith is not going to win the Civil War, at least not alive. His faction is pretty much knocked out of the fight fairly early here. Leo Magnus did get some points on the board, but got hit hard by Crone Hellebron, and then in the flank by Lokir. So meanwhile here there's a Death Hag that is singled out. I'm going to hit her. Crone Hellebron is headed this way, and I'm engaging the Shades with great swords with my own Shades with dual weapons, and a little bit of a missile fight here. The Crone is nearby, and I do want to try and put some damage on her, but at the same time I have to be careful. There's Witch Elves around, and I don't want to get berserked on the ground and then chewed up by Shades or some other kind of unit, so I will play somewhat safe here and not just go totally ballistic on the Crone, though my dragon really can't get back in the air now because it's been caught by the Sisters of Slaughter, who I believe poison it. And so Crone Hellebron's kind of giving it a little cow catcher push here, pushing it back through my lines. There's a Death Hag in here too that just like rolls right through my line and just keeps on chasing the dragon. Look at her, she's just like, whoop, Crone Hellebron made a hole, I'm coming right through that. So that Death Hag really wants a piece of the dragon too. Unfortunately for Crone Hellebron, she is probably going to meet her doom here because of all of the Shades nearby, but she doesn't have a whole lot of other choice but to engage. If she goes and hides back, she's just going to get picked off by flyers, and so getting in there, causing the damage. Fiendfire has racked up a pretty nice bunch of points here, honestly. Done a good job, despite having been really outmatched at a lot of points, having to do his best. And the infantry was very tanky for him, and it's generating some points. So the Crone does go down, so Crone and Malekith are out, and that leaves Lokir and Morathi in the duel here. Which one will be the last one standing? We shall see. And at some point is most likely going to result in an interesting aerial battle, obviously, because there's 2 black dragons and the Crows of Cain and a beast sorceress over here. These witch elves are hoping to berserk some of these targets. Even if they do, they're not likely to stick in that fight for very long. They're going to get terrified, won't be able to stick around. Ooh, that master as well. So Morathi is going to have to be careful about the engagement she takes. I was approaching the shades here, but decided to pull back, and then I'm going to have to do a little bit of dodging on these crossbow bolts if it's possible. Don't really want my dragon to take all of those. So I am able to dodge a little bit. My infantry gets chewed on pretty hard by Crone Hellebrand, who passed over 10,000 points. I'm pulling up into 2nd place now, but Lokir has a whole lot of power and ability to get some points here. But like I said, I kept part of my army hiding with the intent that I can pull it out late if need be. And that's definitely one of my objectives here. Now, Fiendfire is not going to have a lot of troops left. He might be able to get some of these to regroup and try and hide out for later. Meanwhile, there's going to be a bit of a showdown here between Lokir and Morathi. See Morathi and her dragon. The dragon from Morathi is pretty damaged, and I think that Lokir is pretty keen to take this fight, though remember that fights against Morathi in the air or on the ground can be very deceiving. Despite having a massive advantage here, taking a fight against Morathi like this with the dragon and the master to help tank, the debuffs are going to be huge on the enemy units. Morathi's going to get into melee, and there'll be some pretty serious debuffing, plus Soul Stealer. So remember that Morathi can really tank a lot of damage out of single entity models when she gets into a fight like this. And so you're going to see the Beast Sorceress and the Master get KO'd really quick. And that leaves 2 dragons, and the Crows of Cain are swooping into this fight. My Shades were supporting, but then a very nice summon there from Stormrunner ties down my Shades. I'm going to have to break them up and try and put them on defensive mode and keep them firing despite being attacked by a Manticore. Because there is a real big fight going on here right now. And despite being heavily outgunned here, again, the debuffing that Morathi puts on everything keeps her alive for a considerable amount of time. And so, again, even with all this going on, you can see the fight is really a struggle for Lokir. Look how low his melee attack is. It just makes it more difficult for them to land hits. Look at that 28 melee attack on that Black Dragon. Yeah, only 11 on the Crows of Cain. So despite taking quite a lot of damage, Morathi is really punching above her weight class here. The regrouped infantry of Harganeth is going to be engaged by these Dark Riders. The Witch Elves do manage to berserk some, but they might rout. And then the Executioners are trying to come join in as well, but the army losses are really hurting Harganeth, so they won't be able to get a whole lot more points. I've slipped into 1st place, but you can see Stormrunner quickly picking up a lot of points against me. But at the same time, I'm getting some points off him. So you can see here that my Shades managed to stay in that fight, and Lokir wants to disengage and head to the ground to help get rid of my Shades. The Shades are lasting an amazingly long time here, and I'm going to try and use my 2 units to pick off Lokir. I have a little bit better speed than him, except for right there, he's got Foe Seeker, so now he'll be able to stay ahead of me. But as soon as this other dragon pops in the air, we'll just double back and charge it. Shades with great swords over here, though. Morathi's going to have to be careful. She is in range of these Shades. It's going to be a very risky position for her to fight in, so probably can't stay in that battle for too long either, though her own Shades have finally broken free of their attackers and should be able to contribute, plus the hidden troops over here still intact as needed. I've pulled into a pretty decent lead, but the Master, Druki, got routed there. Morathi is now left alone. She's running a little bit low on magic. There is a War Hydra back here from Leo Magnus that came back from routing and wants to fight his way back into this one. He's going to get a face full of Dark Riders. Though he should be able to handle Dark Riders pretty well as long as his leadership will hold out. So Leo Magnus didn't really want to give up yet, but that attracts the attention of Lokir, and then Morathi regains control of the Master that routed previously, and then my Shades with dual weapons should be able to come out and try and trade shots with these Shades with great swords. And at this point, it's also time to reveal my hidden hand, so my other troops are moving out of hiding and coming in. I really just didn't want to have all my troops balled up because of the huge risk of ambushes and vortex spells, breath spells. All that stuff is very dangerous in these matches. Oh, look at this double breath attack. Oh, boy. The War Hydra gets scalded with dragon breath. He's held on amazingly well, though, that War Hydra. I think he's going to get routed here. No, he's stabilized in the middle of all that combat. That's crazy. Morathi, meanwhile, is going after the Shades with great swords. A little bit risky. These are tough units in melee, so definitely have to be careful. Morathi can debuff them decently, but that Druchii Master is in some pretty dangerous position here. I'm going to go ahead and drop a Pit of Shades on the Shades with great swords. Figured it'd be a good way to try and rack up a few points and get rid of a very expensive unit that had a lot of ammo left. But Morathi trying to run for it, and she just, even through Shades, she just can't pull out. She doesn't have the mass, and she's going to get caught out here. And despite her ability to debuff, taking a charge from 2 black dragons, plus all the cavalry here, she's in big trouble. She was also out of magic at this point, so there was no Soul Stealer to bail her out. I used that last bit of magic on the Pit of Shades, and now might be wishing that I'd saved it for a Soul Stealer, because that Soul Stealer may have helped bring down Lokir and the other Black Dragon and kept Morathi alive. It's hard to say. But at this point, with the Druchii Master still aiding me, I have a chance to still do very well here, obviously. I've got a couple of Dread Spears that are approaching. One fully healthy Shade with dual weapon, which again is anti-infantry. Not that there's any infantry left in the fight, but their armor-piercing missile damage will be quite useful as well. So there's plenty of troops left for my guys to fight, as long as I can keep their leadership up, and that doesn't look too difficult at this point just because numbers on our side. So I've got a pretty commanding lead and a good chance to finish out this civil war. At this point, though, Morathi's dead, and Lokir has kind of technically won as the last lord standing. But if I can kill him, I felt like it would really end this thing in the way that Druchii should end it, which would be if there is a civil war, then all of them would be killed, and that's what would actually kind of fit the lore and make them happy. Look at this brilliant breath attack here from Stormrunner. Boom! Vomited all over those Shades with dual weapons, so very nice attack from Stormrunner there. Trading with these Shades with great swords. I'm actually kind of surprised. They're holding up in a missile fight pretty well here. Pretty darn well, actually.
The weak must die.
Anyway, yeah, Lokir and the Master, I'm sure Lokir would love to get a charge on that Master. He's going to bring in the Crows of Cain to either probably take that charge or try and tie down my Shades. I've got the Witch Elves close by to support this. So the Witch Elves are going to move over and try and tear into the Crows of Cain, while the missile exchange kind of continues. There's another Shade with great sword unit here from Lokir's army. They are going to fire away. The Crows of Cain get cleaned up. And at this point, it's time to go ahead and probably just activate my infantry. Little feint charge from Lokir, and then he decides he really wants to get that Druchii Master. And the Master is faster. Oof, I didn't even mean for that to rhyme, it just happened. But Foe Seeker on Lokir, and he speeds up significantly and is able to catch, but just misses the Master right there. So they big trouble for the Master right now, the Beast Master, if you will. Very, very dangerous situation for him. The Shades with great swords are trying to continue to fire from range, as they should. I'm going to use the Witch Elves here in a minute to go ahead and start assailing them, because the Witch Elves should be able to run these guys down. And their low armor, despite them being very solid melee combatants, their low armor will leave them very vulnerable to the Witch Elves. I'll bet these guys can put up a pretty decent fight against the Dread Spears. Numbers would not be in their favor, obviously. Yeah. Over here, I'm able to lure Lokir into a little bit of a shot here. He's going to drop his last breath attack on a pretty good spot here. I managed to split up at the very last second and avoid some of it, but it was still a nice call there by Stormrunner. Here comes the Witch Elves. The Shades with great swords. Everybody's just going to YOLO in here. Go for a fight to the finish. The real question is, will Lokir die or not? He's 600-something hit points. He's not dead yet. I do have one Shade that's sitting back and firing, and my Master is about to dive bomb Lokir. He's down to 300 hit points, but he ends up routing. Ooh, it's close. Is he gonna die? No, he doesn't die. Look at that. Lokir is actually still alive. So I win by points. Lokir wins by survival. Almost all of the lords died here, and almost all the units on the battlefield died too. So I feel like this was an appropriate ending to a Druchii FFA, right? Pretty much everybody died. Malice got left at home, so he's talking to himself in the mirror and quite upset about having been left out. Yeah, there we go. So Stormrunner, great job as Lokir, did a ton of damage. These Dark Riders actually did a lot of work for him. And the Shades with great swords picking up some nice kills. Fiendfire really dished out a ton of damage with his infantry, especially considering getting pinched between two armies. And really did an amazing job, I thought, at getting a whole lot of work done. Leo Magnus had the unfortunate mistake of leaving Malekith sitting in front of some some Shades for a moment, and really, or no, was it Shades? I think it was, yeah, it was Shades. He accidentally sat in front of Shades for a minute and didn't notice it, so unfortunately for him, it really cost him big time in his ability to be able to rack up points. Plus, Malekith got caught up in the air by that Lokir goon squad, so it really is what prevented him, I think, from being able to dish some damage, because he certainly had the potential to deal some damage with all these Dark Shards of War Hydra and Malekith, as well as a Death Hag. I mean, all these units can certainly dish out some of it, and just weren't able to get it done because of the way it played out. FFA is crazy. That's just the way it works sometimes, and it is fun. Anyway, I won't be playing in the next one. I recorded another one. It's actually an all-dwarf FFA, so when it comes time for that video to come up, get ready for the grudge of all grudges, people. It'll be nothing but grudges. Hope you all enjoyed this one, and I will see you soon with some more Total War Warhammer 2 content.